I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.
Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but chose to be here with me, and for that I am forever grateful. This will be the final show of 2022. I will be very busy with family and friends over the next week as we go through Christmas and New Year's. The next live show will be Tuesday, January 3rd of 2023. Of course, if anything breaks of major importance between now and then, I'll be sure to come and do a live broadcast about it or do a video on it and share my thoughts as we move forward. Before we get into tonight's show, I want to let everybody know that today marks the 33rd anniversary of Operation Just Cause, which kicked off December 20th, 1989 in Panama, Central America. To all those that I served with during this conflict, many of you who watch this program religiously, I want to let you know that it was an honor to serve with you. You are some of the finest and bravest men and women America has ever produced. And to the families of those that lost their lives, please know that your loved ones' sacrifice was not forgotten by those of us that were blessed to return home. 33 years ago today, Operation Just Cause, one of very few conflicts that America has faced where those that lost their lives did not do so in vain, because we accomplished the objective. We captured Manuel Noriega and brought him to justice and removed his communist socialism regime from power. Just prior to coming on tonight, there was a breaking news that I want to share with you as well before we kick off into tonight's show. Democrats on the House Ways and Means Committee tonight, just now, announced that they will release 6 years of former President Donald Trump's tax returns. The committee voted 24-16 to release the information. Committee Chairman Richard Neal, Democrat, Massachusetts, said every effort will be made to remove certain personal information from the information that is released, and it's not immediately clear how long that would take. The committee will technically be releasing a report on Trump's taxes. The top Republican on the committee, Representative Kevin Bradley of Texas, said the information in the report includes 6 years of Trump's tax returns, returns of 8 affiliated businesses, and related audited notes. Bradley indicated that he was also unclear when the information might be released. The committee won the right to access Trump's financial data last month after the Supreme Court ordered the Treasury Department to make the documents accessible. Democrats have been seeking Trump's tax returns since 2019 and received them on November 30th. Late Tuesday afternoon, members of the committee met behind closed doors to discuss how to approach their release. Just before the closed-door meeting took place, top Republicans on the committee warned that releasing Trump's returns would set up a dangerous precedent under which Congress would have nearly unlimited power to threaten private citizens with the release of their tax information. Not just private citizens, political enemies, business and labor leaders, or even returns of Supreme Court justices themselves, warned Representative Kevin Bradley, Republican, Texas. He added, Congress has the power to destroy private people by making their returns public. After the vote, Bradley said Democrats have unleashed a dangerous new political weapon. Unlike prior presidents, Trump said he would not release his returns when he ran for office in 2016 and was elected even after making that decision. Republicans have said Trump's election victory showed voters didn't care, and there is no reason to pursue Trump's financial information at this point because he's no longer the president. Now, for those of you Democrats or liberals, especially the ones that troll this show, let me be very, very clear with you that there is absolutely nothing in the Constitution of the United States of America, nor in any written law in American society, anywhere, that says you must release your tax returns to run for president or to become president of the United States. It does not exist. But just like everything else the Democrats have done to former President Trump before he was elected, during his presidency, and even now afterwards, they will continue to do everything in their power to smear him in hopes that he never returns back to office again. That's pretty damn sad. I mean, it's actually pathetic. They continue down this road. So, I tell you what, Democrats, here's my challenge to the new Republican House that takes over in January. We, the people, would like to see the tax returns of Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and hell, while we're at it, every Democrat member of Congress. We want to see your tax returns. If this government believes that it is okay to share private and personal information with the freaking world, then damn it, Republicans, go after their ass when you take over the House in just a few short weeks. We, the American people, demand that you do so. Tonight's lead story. Yesterday, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 storming of the U.S. Capitol announced it will issue referrals to the Department of Justice recommending that former President Donald Trump be criminally prosecuted for allegedly inciting an insurrection, conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to make a false statement, and obstruction of an official proceeding. The committee's referral is only a recommendation, and the decision to pursue charges against former President Trump will be made by Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice. One day before what is presumed to be its final meeting, Trump slammed the committee as highly partisan. The highly partisan Unselect Committee is illegally leaking confidential info to anyone that will listen. Adam Shifty Shift is all over TV talking about criminal referrals, just like he was on Russia hoax, which turned out to be the con of the century. Trump wrote on TruthSocial. How much longer are Republicans and American patriots in general going to allow this to happen? These are the criminals who spied on my campaign, cheated on the election, lied to the FISA courts and Congress. They are sick, Trump said. Trump has repeatedly criticized the committee, accusing its members of being political thugs and corrupt politicians. I, for one, couldn't agree more. The Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, essentially the same group who brought to you the now fully debunked and discredited Russia hoax and many others, refused to study and report on the massive amount of influenceable evidence, much of it rescinded production, and shows the 2020 presidential election was rigged and stolen, Trump wrote on TruthSocial. They want nothing to do with the topic because they cannot win on the facts, cancel and deny. Call it the big lie. It's all they can do. Corrupt politicians. And I, like most American patriots, couldn't agree more. Sadly, we send to Congress a bunch of corrupt people that will allow Democrats to get away with anything they want, but yet have turned the Justice Department and the FBI against conservatives and Republicans. At this point, the FBI and the Department of Justice is nothing more than an arm of the Democrat Party. It is pathetic. It is un-American. It is against all the principles and values that this country was ever built upon. And it should not stand. Conservatives, Republicans, and law enforcement are the only ones applauding the Supreme Court's decision to uphold Title 42, a Trump-era immigration measure that helped the government secure the southern border. The border crisis only worsened in the past year as President Joe Biden attempted to deflect criticism for not visiting the border in person. But border crossings surged to record levels as Title 42 was scheduled to expire tomorrow, December 21st. The Supreme Court stepped in just 2 days left before the expiration. The decision came after 19 states requested that the court issue an emergency stay. Turning Point USA founder Charlie Clerk responded to the news with just 2 words: thank God. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said the Supreme Court's decision was a victory of preventing illegal immigration in a viral tweet with over 28,000 likes so far on Twitter. Texas and other states are insisting that the court leave Title 42 in place. Today's order is a step in that direction. This helps prevent illegal immigration. The policy has been used to avert illegal immigrants more than 2.5 million times. This year alone, Customs and Border Protection said that migrant numbers for fiscal year 2023, which began just this past October, are at or over 485,000 crossings that have been caught. And God knows how many got through. And I'm here to tell you from my talks with the Border Patrol that it's triple what they caught. Congressman Tim Scott also reacted to the Supreme Court's decision. Good. Title 42 will protect our communities from Biden's reckless border policies. Fox News contributor Tommy Lang likewise condemned the decision, but questioned what would happen after even the Supreme Court's stay of Title 42 elapses. Title 42 has been saved for now. It's only a matter of time before it expires. Then what? Open the floodgates? Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who filed a motion to the Supreme Court that prompted the emergency stay, said that keeping Title 42 in place no longer would be a fight. The fight to keep Title 42 in place continues. I will continue to do everything in the court to ensure our border is secure. Speaking of the border, Vice President Kamala Harris blamed, guess who? Republicans for the border crisis during an interview with NPR yesterday, and said the Republicans are unwilling to engage on the issue. That's one stupid ass woman. And sadly, what we have seen in particular, and I'm sad to say, from Republicans in Congress, is an unwillingness to engage in a meaningful reform that could actually fix a lot of what we are witnessing, Harris told NPR. Madam, how many times have you been to that border and met with Border Patrol? TikTok. Bueller? Zero. Harris, who was tapped by President Biden to address the root causes of the border crisis and effectively became the border czar back in 2021, told NPR that the White House plans to increase technology and provide more agents to help at the southern border. I think there is so much that needs to happen to address the issue, she told the outlet, before adding, reform of our immigration system can only happen through Congress in terms of the passage of an immigration bill that allows for a legal pathway to citizenship and a legal presence in the country. Listen up, you dumbass vice president. There is a pathway to citizenship in America. I know that's breaking news to you. I understand that your pea brain isn't capable of thinking much further than the next laugh that you're going to do over something that's important. But there is a pathway. There's always been a pathway. And that's all we want. Harris told NBC's Meet the Press this past September that the border is secure. The border is secure, but we also have a broken immigration system, in particular, over the last 4 years before we came in, and it needs to be fixed, she told NBC's Chuck Todd. I think that was while she was sucking on his toes, or vice versa. Todd asked if she was confident that the border is secure as millions of people are set to cross into the country illegally for the first time ever. We have a secure border, and that is a priority of any nation, including ours and our administration, Harris replied. And for those of you that are unaware, that is a complete 100% lie from the Vice President of the United States. She goes on to say, but there are still a lot of problems that we're trying to fix, given the deterioration that happened over the last 4 years. Someone smoking meth, crack, and snorting cocaine back to back could do better than what this woman is doing. Hell, you could probably do better if you were doing blotter acid and tripping over shit that's not even there. We also had to put into place a law and a plan for a pathway to citizenship for millions of people who are here and are prepared to do what is legally required to gain citizenship. The Supreme Court temporarily blocked an order that would lift Title 42 restrictions that allow border officials to deter migrants throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The order was set to expire tomorrow. 19 states asked the court to keep Title 42 in place as immigration is expected to surge when the measure expires. White House Press Secretary, that wonderful piece of work, Catherine Jean-Pierre, said she was unable to lay out what Harris's work on the border crisis looks like during a press briefing yesterday. I don't have anything to lay out specifically on what that looks like, she said, in response to a question about the vice president's specific role. That's because there isn't any. Just admit it. What's so wrong with that? She's done nothing. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Kamala Harris is no different than the other idiots that failed to recognize a major problem on our southern border. You can't fix stupid, people. But you can dress it up and send it to Congress on the Democrat ticket. The Marine Corps has been advised that its drill instructors should no longer be referred to by gender terms like ma'am or sir. And I dare that a top training leader has pushed back on. The recommendations came in a recent completed academic report from the University of Pittsburgh that the Corps commissioned back in 2020, according to Marine Corps Times. The report reveals how the Marine Corps lags behind other branches in training men and women closely together, Marine Corps Times reported. It says training staff in 3 of 6 branches of the military no longer use gender identifiers. Still commonplace in the Corps, the Army, Navy, and Coast Guard effectively de-emphasize gender in an integrated environment, the report says. Instead of saying ma'am or sir, recruits in these services refer to their drill instructors using their ranks or roles by their last name. Gender identifiers prime recruits to think about or virtually search for a drill instructor's gender first before they rank or role. Report authors add, by teaching recruits to use gender-neutral identifiers for their drill instructors, services underscore the importance of respecting authoritarian figures regardless of their gender. Across all military branches, the Marine Corps has the smallest percentage of females serving, Marine Corps Time reported, and the branch has been slow to integrate men and women in boot camp, as all other branches have already done so. The new report says Marine Corps recruiters have brushed aside female training in favor of male staff, who are seen as more authoritarian, according to Marine Corps Times. And in one incident, drill instructors asked advice from a male peer while a female chief drill instructor stood ignorantly by. It's not clear whether the Corps will take the report advice, but the Chief of Staff for Marine Corps Training and Education, Command Colonel Howard Hall, told Marine Corps Times it's not as simple as tweaking training level policies. It's not something we would change overnight, Hall said. We've got a history of sir, ma'am, and we've changed something at the root level. How do we make the correspondence change at the Fleet Marine Force? So it's not ours to implement alone. According to Marine Corps Times, Hall said the recommendation was under consideration during the December meeting of the Defense Advisory Committee on Women in the Service. And in this case, they're not necessarily referring to women as they are referring to transvestites, men who want to be women, or women that want to be men. Here is an example of failed leadership within this administration and today's new military, giving out information that should never have been released to the public about military operations. Although tonight it's being reported on by not just the Pentagon releasing the information to the news, but all the news picked it up. Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, all of them, all the networks, all the papers, telling our enemies some very damning information that should have never been released. But this is what failed leadership gives you. The entire fleet of the United States Air Force B-2 stealth bombers were grounded yesterday in response to potential safety defects on the aircraft. The Air Force confirmed a stand down of the B-2 fleet in an emailed statement to American Military News. The decision to ground the fleet came after a B-2 came after an unspecific in-flight malfunction forced the B-2 crew to make an emergency landing at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri on December 10th. The base said there was a fire associated with the aircraft after landing, and the base fire department extinguished the fire. The Air Force did not directly announce the B-2 fleet had been grounded, but said that the B-1B Lancer bombers from Elsinore Air Force Base, South Dakota, will replace B-2s for the flyover of the upcoming Rose Bowl game on January 2nd. Whiteman Air Force Base did not participate in the 2023 Rose Bowl parade or the Rose Bowl game flyovers. Instead, the B-1B Lancers from Ellsworth, South Dakota, will carry on the tradition. The Air Force 509th Bomb Wing said in a press release. Whitman Air Force Base will have a safety pause on B-2 flights in order to inspect the fleet following an incident that happened on December 10th, 2022. Our stealth bomber. The bomber that can fly into any country's air defense systems undetected, for the most part. Our number one concern is the safety and security of our personnel and fleet. We deeply regret having to make this decision so close to the event, but we are committed to returning to Pasadena in 2024, said the 509th Bomb Wing Commander, Colonel Daniel Dahl. Although we are not participating in this flyover, we remain steadfast in our commitment to answer our nation's call. According to an Air Force fact sheet, the Air Force has just 20 of the B-2 bombers in service, and they've been in service since 1997. The B-2 is capable of carrying out both conventional and nuclear strikes and makes up a key component of the U.S. strategic bomber fleet. The Air Force plans to incrementally replace its B-1 and B-2 fleets with the newly unrevealed B-21 Raider. The B-21 is a stealth bomber with a similar flying wing shape as the B-2 Spirit. Both the B-2 and the B-21 were developed by Northrop Grumman. Why do we do this? And it's not just this administration. We did shit like this during the Trump administration. We did shit like this during the Obama administration. We did shit like this during the Bush administration. Hell, the Ford administration, the Carter administration, the Nixon administration. What is wrong with the leaders of this country that they can't grasp the concept of keeping this kind of information out of the hands of the public? We don't need to know this. The press doesn't need to know this, because then our enemy knows this. And there are people all across this country that want to do us harm because we're Americans. Several GOP lawmakers blasted the monstrous $1.7 trillion spending bill released this morning out the gate, with complaints that they were given only days to read the 4,155-page deal reached by Senate Republicans and congressional Democrats in an effort to avert a government shutdown. Now details are trickling out about what is actually contained in this last-minute bill. And North Carolina GOP Representative Dan Bishop took to Twitter to flag what he called some of the most egregious provisions in the bill. Bishop revealed in a tweet thread that the package expressly prohibits Customs and Border Protection funding from being used to improve border security, while at the same time allocating $410 million towards border security for other nations, namely Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, and Oman. The North Carolina congressman also pointed to $1.43 billion in spending for membership in global multilateral organizations, including the United Nations. $65 million for restoring the Pacific salmon populations. $3 million for what they called a bee-friendly highways, to where when we build highways, we make sure we don't affect the bee colonies. An additional $5 million in further spending for those salmon. At least the other fish feel left out of the spending spree, Bishop tweeted. Here's $65.7 million for international fishery commissions. The lawmaker went on to highlight $575 million in spending for family planning and reproductive health in a bill targeted areas where production growth threatens biodiversity and endangered species, calling the provision sinister. He wrote, "This is disturbing, anti-human ideology that should have zero place in any federal program." Bishop went on to provide a slew of earmarks in the bill and noted a number of projects honoring Democrats, including a federal building that will be named after retiring House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and a trail through the woods that's going to be named after former First Lady Michelle Obama. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried. Look, I'm 60 years old, and I served this country in many different ways, honorably. And I don't know what's happening to us. This shit's ridiculous. And it's getting worse. It's not getting better. However, congressional Republicans succeeded in slashing funding for the IRS in the negotiations over President Biden's $1.7 trillion budget. Senate Republicans forced Democrats in the White House to cut more than $275 million from the IRS over the next year. Thank God. GOP lawmakers demanded the cut, arguing the IRS is already slated to receive additional money over the next decade, thanks to Biden's recent passage of the $739 billion Inflation Reduction Act. This process was far from perfect, but ultimately it allowed Republican red lines to be adhered to, and because of that, I will urge my colleagues to support this package, said Alabama Senator Richard Shelby, the top Republican on the Senate Appropriations Committee. Overall, the budget allocates $12.3 billion for the IRS, 2.2% less than the nearly $12.6 billion the agency received just last fiscal year. The Biden administration initially saw $1.3 billion increase for the IRS this year. The budget deal does not include additional monies for the IRS to monetize its tax processing infrastructure. IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig has said the agency's accurate computer system was responsible for a large backlog in processing returns over the last 2 years. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which passed Congress over the summer, included $80 billion in additional funding for the IRS over the next decade. Why don't you use some of that money to update your fucking computer system if you think that it's affecting us in receiving our tax returns? Maybe that makes too much sense. Democrats argue the money would help crack down on wealthy tax cheats. Republicans said it would only hurt the middle class. Democrats have invested $80 billion into the agency to hire 87,000 new IRS agents, said Representative Vern Butchman, Republican, Florida. Everyone is worried about what these IRS agents will do, and we're committed to holding the agency responsible. Republicans who won control of the U.S. House of Representatives at the midterms are set to make the IRS oversight a top priority in the next Congress. The American people are demanding oversight of this administration, said Representative Jason Smith, Republican of Missouri. Over the years, they've seen the IRS has targeted conservatives and Republicans. They've seen the IRS has allowed taxpayer information to be leaked for political gains only. Yeah. And they want a police force. They want their own IRS police force. A federal judge has blocked the state of California from enforcing a gun control scheme that was molded after controversial Texas abortion law, delivering Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom the exact outcome he wanted. U.S. District Court Judge Roger Benitez of the Southern District of California issued a permanent injunction on Monday against fee-shifting provisions of the state's gun law, which empowers private citizens to bring lawsuits against gun manufacturers. declaring it unconstitutional. It is cynical. It is abomination. It is outrageous and objectionable. There is no dispute that it raises serious constitutional questions. It's an unprecedented attempt to thaw justicial review, Vince wrote in his opinion, quoting directly from Newsom's criticisms of the Texas abortion law. Texas measure makes abortions illegal after a fetal heartbeat can be detected and prevents private citizens to sue abortion providers or anyone else who assists in a woman's abortion. The fee-shifting mechanism was designed to protect the 2021 law from justicial review to circumvent the Supreme Court's old abortion precedents of Roe versus Wade. The High Court has since overturned the precedents permitting states to restrict or legalize abortion. Newsom called on the California legislation to enact a similar law for guns days after the Supreme Court ruled that the Texas heartbeat law could remain in effect following legal challenges. California gun laws also creates a private right of action for citizens to sue gun manufacturers to make assault weapons of ghost guns. Newsom described the law as virtually identical to the Texas provisions. He observed that the gun control statute denies or prevailing plaintiffs' attorney fees. Further, emphasized that the only California measure applies to laws effectively and clearly constitutionally right set forth in our nation's founding documents. Whether these distinctions are enough to save the Texas law fee shifting provision for the scrutiny remains to be unseen. Although it would be tempting to comment on, the Texas law was not before the court for determination. The judge ordered it's likely to set us a showdown in the U.S. Supreme Court, which is the outcome Newsom desired. The governor's office called it hypocritical to block the state's gun law while preventing the Texas abortion measure to stand. The Second Amendment is in this. Abortion is not. Prove me wrong. Went on to say, I want to thank Judge Benitez. We've been saying all along that Texas anti-abortion law is outrageous, and the judge confirmed it is also unconstitutional, Newsom said in a statement Monday. The provision in California's law that he struck down is a replica of what Texas did and his explanation of why this part, SB 1327, unfairly blocks access to the court's appeals equity of Texas SB 8. There are some things that you just can't fix. California is one of them. I lived out there for many years. My last National Guard unit, I was in California. When I worked in law enforcement, I was in California. Hell, the Bay Area for that matter. And I've got family and friends that still live out there. And I wish them all the best in getting the hell out of there before the state just completely collapses into the sea, which, oh, by the way, there was, I think, a 6.5 or 6.9 earthquake just today in Northern California. And the big one is coming. As I close out this year's broadcast, I want to say a special thank you to my moderators for this show, my wife, Marilyn, John Lawrence, Sherry and Scott Wayne, and the one and only Doc Strange. You all have made my life much easier doing this show, and your commitment to American patriot values shine through in your actions. To each of you that subscribe and followers of this show, I can't ever thank you enough for tuning into this show on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. It is because of you that I continue to do this. Your love for this great country is what drives me to do better each and every week. With that, thank you. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me. For that, I am forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. Share with your family and friends. Also, check out my other YouTube channel, Charlie Hotel 47. Some really cool stuff there for you to share with the youth of America. Also, go check out DouglasDucote.com. And in the description of this show, once it comes up as a regular video, and all my videos and shows, you'll be able to see where you can follow me on other social media platforms. Again, if anything breaks between now and the first of the year, I'll be sure to take a moment to update everybody on my thoughts and what's happening. Hopefully, things will stay calm. Whatever you're planning on doing for Christmas, I hope if you're traveling that you're safe. Hope that you're with your family and friends. And please keep in mind all those that gave their all, sacrificed even their lives for us to be able to celebrate this Christmas. I hope you all have a wonderful, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, and our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. Merry Christmas, everyone. And I'll see you in the bright new year right around the corner. God bless.